And now coming into the 1980s, what happened then?
Well, that was a funny period, the 1980s. It was a period where a lot of work had died out with the introduction of the random breath test and the booze bus. There wasn't that much work around. A lot of clubs were struggling, and at the time, where I was working at the meat works, I studied and become a Commonwealth Meat Inspector with the Department of Prime Industry, and I went to Aberdeen, and then I only had to work up there a couple of years, and I'd come back to my old meat works there as a Commonwealth Meat Inspector. But anyway, in the meantime, I was only away about 12 months. Newcastle meat works closed in Maitland, and then in later years Aberdeen. So I got offered a job while I was home on holidays to look after the entertainment section of the Newcastle Star newspaper section called Out and About, where I had to call every pub and club and restaurant in the whole Newcastle area. And it was like only a couple of people working there. It was put together by a guy called Mike Wansey and Lindsay Young. He was a brilliant advertiser and whiz, and he put nearly the paper together himself, you know. But when I started there was only one little 6 centimetre by 2 column ad for the clubs, and then I had to talk to the graphic artist there, and I said, can you do me a nice heading over a couple of pages, because it was the size of the Daily Telegraph, you know, not the big broadsheet, but just the Daily Telegraph sized newspaper, but there was only one ad, and I said, I'm sure we could get more advertisers. So anyway, I said, instead of just having Out and About up the top of the pages, what about if you have it done right across Out and About, different style, then underneath it in reversal, a look at Newcastle's top entertainment and dining out venues. And so when I went along to the clubs and pubs and the restaurants, they'd read that, because I'd take a couple of blank pages along with a banner along the top, and I'd say, you know, Phil Mahoney here, I'm advertising rep for the Newcastle Star. It was a whole new sort of job for me to what I'd done, you know, over the years, but I just see if they were interested in advertising, and I could see them look at that banner along the top, and they'd think, well, gee, if we're not in this, it means we're not one of the top venues, you know. It was a psychological thing that I come up with, and it worked. Within 6 months, I had up to 10 pages.
Wow.
I'd gone from one little ad for Central Charlestown Leagues Club to 10 pages some weeks in this weekly paper, the Newcastle Star. So that the owner was that happy, and the advertiser manager Lindsay was happy, and I thought to even get more support from all the entertainment venues, I came up with an idea that we'd have an annual music awards. So I'd call it Newcastle Star Professional Music Awards. I put together a panel of judges. I went out and got a sponsorship of $250,000 from Rayworth Music. He was the first major sponsor. And so we had this great big gala night at the Newcastle Workers Club. And we had all the categories from country to rock to jazz to everything, you know, bush band, best compere, best solo performer. It was a wonderful night, and even after I left then, a couple of years later I left and started my own publication up called On the Green, Lawn Bowls magazine. They kept it going for a couple of years, but then they just sort of didn't put the energy into keeping it going, which is a shame. It was a great thing for the music industry. But anyway, on one of my occasions when I called at a club, which was a regular thing, you'd have to be going around, because it was a lot of clubs and pubs that called on, you were sort of going the whole time, but it wasn't that easy to get in and see them secretary managers either. They were very busy, very stressed, but one day I struck it lucky where a club manager at this Shortland RSL club, John Quinn, a great guy, I'll never forget him, God bless his soul, he said to me, Phil, with the introduction of the booze bus, he said, we're doing it pretty tough. He said, Sundays we've got no one hardly in the club. And he said, I was wondering if you could try and put together something on a Sunday afternoon. I know you love the country music and that, you do that, maybe if you could put a band on a Sunday afternoon. I said, well, instead of just putting a band on, I said, I don't think it really draws that many people, but what about we put together a show? And seeing that the Shortland RSL Club used for their logo the Happy Club, That was what they'd have under their ads. They call themselves the Happy Club. I come up with the name, the Happy Hodian Show. So it was, the times I said it'd be good would say between 3 and 6 or 2 to 5. So I think the first Sunday we run 2 to 5, and then we might have went 3 to 6 after that, because it run more into the bistro there and helped the bistro a bit more for people staying on and would have dinner. So the first day it was on, I walked into the club and I couldn't believe it. It was packed, because they'd done a pretty good ad in the Star. I got to do a fairly good size ad, and then I got an editorial in there, and I couldn't believe it. I just walked in and the place there wasn't a seat left, about 500 people for the first show. In the meantime, I started doing a monthly show for the club too. They wanted to do a monthly show besides the Sunday. Went that good, packed every Sunday. They said, could I produce another show on a Thursday night? They were trying to build Thursday nights up. So I contacted Jeff Gregory at 2HT. He was there for 14 years on Sunday night, country music presenter. And I said, would you like to work on a show? I said, I'll produce it and co-compare it with you. And we'd like to bring some legends along, like Tim McNamara, Jimmy Little, Jad Morgan, any of those great, legends. So, and Jeff knew them all. So Jeff would book them. Now, on one of these Thursday nights, he'd booked the backing band as well, and he booked Rex Dallas and the Dallas Cowboys. They just arrived in Newcastle not long before, living out the Lake Macquarie area, and I didn't know Rex at that time, but then they were so good. Rex was brilliant on the fiddle, and his eldest son was only a young teenager, brilliant lead guitarist. His other son was on the drums, and Colin, and Rex, of course, such a brilliant voice, the best, voice you'd ever hear in country music. You'd go a long way to hear anyone yodel as good as Rex as well. So I thought, gee whiz, I wonder if they'd like to work on Sundays. So I approached them after the show, because I'd co-compared the show. I'd introduced Jeff off the side of the stage, I'd introduced him on, and then I didn't have a lot to do with that show, just co-compare it sort of off stage and bring Jeff on each half of the show. And then I got talking to Rex and met Rex in them early 80s, and so Rex started working then on the Sundays, and probably had about 7 years or so before the family moved then back up to Tamworth area. They bought a farm up that way, and Rex had his own gully grub barn, and I really missed them. They were the real stars of the show. They had a great following. We had people coming from everywhere to see this show. They'd come from all over the valley. One day I got a phone call from the manager of the club, John Quinn. He said, Phil, there's a film crew flying in to film the show from Orange Ex-Services Club. They've heard about the show out there, and they've asked me, could they film the show? And he said, well, they're not in opposition to it. I said, right out Orange. So it's okay by me. If it's okay by you, you're the producer of the show. And if it's okay, I said, yeah, okay. So they brought this big film crew from Orange Ex-Services Club to film the show. And the show had a 10-year run.
Oh, okay.
And it would have still probably been going, only I got offered a job as a centre manager of a shopping centre, which I was in there every day of the week, and I had to give it away. But I had a good run there for 10 years, and I was managing this Wallsend Plaza shopping centre there. Yeah, in 1991, I got a phone call from the receiver of the Wallsend Plaza shopping centre, because I'd started doing some shopping centre entertainment work from about 1986 with an agency in Sydney that I was contracted to, Trojan Theatrical Agency, and I worked in a lot of shopping centres doing children's shows. My wife and I were doing the Captain Kidd show, Pirate show, and we had a Aussie Outback show, and we'd done quite a few shows at Wallsend Plaza. And I come up with a few promotions to help the receiver out there, because it had been in receivership for 2 years, the shopping centre. It was built on the side of the old Crystal Palace Oval, an old soccer oval there, this shopping centre. And the reason it failed, I think, because 5 minutes away there was all these major shopping centres which we've got now, like Charlestown Square and Stockland, Jesmond, where I done a 12 months, 2 years stint there as a marketing manager, and so that's only 5 minutes down the road. So when I went to Wallsend Plaza to have a talk to the receiver, and the first time I've done some entertainment work, I could see that they would struggle because the only major store they had was Coles. They had no Big W or no Kmart. There was not much to attract people there. So I thought, gee, if I take this job on, there'll be a lot of, gimmicks, smoke screen and mirrors, and they'd try and get people in here, But one thing I knew that they loved, that Wallsend area, was country music, because that 10-year period I had with the Happy 18 show, between 81 and 91, had a lot of people all from that Wallsend area be there every Sunday. But not only that, but back in the 70s when I was a guest artist, whenever I'd get a job at the Wallsend RSL Club, they would scream out for country music, so I'd do all my Slim Dusty songs and Chad Morgan songs and all my American country songs, because they loved the country music there. So I thought, well, what I might do is put together some sort of a country music theme here at the shopping centre. So I come up with the name, the Australian Country Music Stars of Fame exhibition. So I thought what I'd do when big stars were coming to town, or I could ring them and book them there to come into the plaza, and I would get their handprints with using black water-based paint, get their handprint and their autograph, and with their photo, put it in a nice block mount timber and put it through the plaza. And after I had quite a collection there, I thought, well, I'll get a few buses, coming down from Newcastle, tourist buses, a call in, make it a bit of a tourist attraction. Well, did it work? Well, when I started there in November 1991, the owners, the Bevel family, bought the shopping centre at auction for only $7.8 million. 3 weeks before, they offered $13 million before the auction, and the receiver knocked them back. He said, no, we need at least $18 million. It cost about 20 to build the shopping centre. They said, we need at least $18 million. But they said, if you're interested, the auction's on in 3 weeks' time. So Neville Bevel and his son John went to the auction and bought the Wallsend Plaza for only 7.8, and after offering $13 million only a few weeks before. But anyway, when I looked at the customer traffic that was coming through there, because every door as they open, they have automatic counters on the doors, and at the end of the day you count up how many people's come into the centre and how many's going out. You add it all up, and the annual customer traffic wasn't real big, and the weekly customer traffic was only 21,000 shoppers a week, whereas Charlestown Square probably have 100,000, Jesmond maybe 80,000. But anyway, I thought, gee, so I have to come up with a lot of advertising gimmicks, which the years I had working at the Star and advertising, that did help me. I rang up the Newcastle Post newspaper. They had a good paper going at the time, and I said I've got a $100,000 budget to spend on advertising, but the owners will only advertise on early right-hand pages. It has to be on page 3, 5, 7, 9 or 11. They won't go any further back in the paper than that. That's their success. Level people said to me, they'll probably tell you there's none available early right-hand pages. But anyway, they said, if you tell them you've got $100,000 to spend, within a matter of days the phone will ring and they'll find a spot for you for sure. So anyway, which they did. A few days later the phone rang after saying there was none available, and they could see that $100,000 coming their way. They found the spot for us, so I'd have an early right-hand page every week, and I had country music shows going there. I had children's free entertainment. I started a kids club up, where every kid got a free birthday gift when it was their birthday, and I'd have a free monthly birthday party. Well, within 4 years we went from 21,000 shoppers a week to over 60,000 within 4 years, And in 1995 I won an Australia Day Award for Shopping Centre of the Year. The country music was so good. We even had the King of Country Music one time come there, Slim Dusty. I rang his manager up in Canberra. I said, I see Slim's working at Cardiff Workers Club coming up next week, and I was wondering if he'd like to call into the Plaza. We'd like to induct him into the Stars of Fame exhibition. Anyway, he got back to me the next day. He said, yeah, no worries. And Chad Morgan, we had Chad there doing a great show. Chad packed it out too. But Slim Dusty, his manager said, all Slim wants is if someone can pick him up from the motel at Cardiff, opposite the Cardiff Workers Club, and give him a lift back. So I thought, well, give the king the royal treatment. So I rang up a mate of mine, Greg McLeish, who owns Newcastle Hire Cars, and I said, Greg, can you do me a favour, mate? I'd like to book the stretch limo to pick Slim Dusty up at the Cardiff motel opposite the Cardiff Workers Club and bring him over to Wallsend Plaza and return him. And he said, no, that'll be no worries. He said, as a matter of fact, I'll do it for free as long as you can get me a photo of Slim leaning on the car, leaning on the stretch limo. So anyway, and then Slim didn't want paying for it. Slim was just happy to come there. We give him lunch, and he was great. And we inducted him. We had every television station at the time. We had NBN3 there, of course. We had Prime. We had Channel 10. They all turned up. The newspapers were all there. He drew such a big crowd. So it really worked. You know, the idea of making it a country music attraction was really working and winning. But anyway, and I thank Slim at the end of the day. That was in May 1995. And I said, thanks for coming today, Slim. I really appreciate it. And he said, oh, I love coming to Newcastle. He said, because it brings back great memories. He said, over 50 years ago, I cut my teeth singing in the old Hunter Street in Newcastle, busking. And so he said, I always have fond memories of coming up here. So yeah, it was a great day. And of course, Chad Morgan, Chad was so popular that I looked out my centre manager's office window on that Sunday that I had Chad there. It was a Wallsend Winter Fair, and I even seen a guy on a horse riding with the Plaza, a cowboy, turned up to see Chad Morgan. Chad was great, and I think Chad experienced probably his first shopping centre show there. He'd never worked in shopping centres before, but he got such a great response that ever since then, I was talking to him the other day, he's been working at the shopping world at every country music now, because he really loved the experience. You know, he loved the crowd there and the warmth of the people there, and that very good sort of crowd, that used to turn up there. We had some wonderful times there, and as I say, with all these other shopping centres, they were ringing up the newspapers in the finish, complaining that we're getting too much publicity. People like Charlestown Square, who were a major centre, rang up and said, oh, that Wallsend Plaza, they're getting too much publicity. Well, I said, well, you got nothing to write about. We've got to have... Well, that's the thing that I learned at the Newcastle Star. I used to see journalists screwing up news like A4 releases from different things, and they'd get it in the mail, and then they'd throw it straight in the bin, screw it up, look at it. And I said to a journalist one day there, I said, you seem to throw a lot of things out. He said, well, a lot of things that come here, they're not new. They're like baby shows. They've been on for 100 years, or there's something that, that's been on, and it doesn't create much media interest. They said, what you've got to come up with is something that will create that media interest, something different. And so that's what I had that in mind when I went there, that you need to have that something different, some sort of gimmick, and something that's going to attract people. And also that in a battling area like Wallsend, the time where a lot of families there, it's not the richest area there, and the word free in big letters in the ads was great, to draw people there, because school holidays, not everyone can afford to go on holidays, and so I'd have school holiday entertainment non-stop. It was made a lovely stage there. I had big giant guitars made either side of the stage.
And you also had Reg Lindsay there.
Oh, look, Reg Lindsay and I become great mates. And Reg appeared there quite often at the Plaza. He was very popular. And then coming up to his 40th, I realised it was coming up to his 40th anniversary in country music. So I said, Reg, I'd like to put on a big day for you, and I've got big banners all done up behind the stage. So congratulations, Reg, Lindsay's 40th anniversary, and Reg and Rosalind, a lovely person Rosalind is. Always a pleasure to have them there at the Plaza. They were always lovely people, and yeah, I had that privilege of putting Reg's 40th anniversary party on at the Plaza. It was great. Great memories, yeah, and God bless his soul. What a wonderful pioneer of an icebreaker he was for country music artists to go to America and be the first sort of flag bearer for us over there.
He certainly was.
Yeah, also like to probably start a casting agency up where you don't charge anybody, only a commission, whereas some casting agencies today, I still believe, which is wrong, they charge a registration fee.
And we won't mention any names.
No, because I still have a lot of contacts. One of my old schoolmates, Phil Avalon, who went to school with me at Hamilton, he's probably the most famous movie producer in Australia, and I'm in contact with him almost daily. He's living up on the Gold Coast now, and he gave Mel Gibson his very first movie role in 1977 in a movie that Phil wrote called Summer City. So, it's a shame to waste all the contacts. If I could help anyone, along the way, I think I'd be only too happy to do that. Oh, look, anyone's just starting out. It's not easy these days. As Cold Joy and those guys will tell you when they started out, things were a lot easier. If they were starting out today, they'd find it a lot harder. But what I reckon, you can learn a lot by observing good artists. Even if you're watching DVDs of them or go and watch them perform, you can learn more. When I started learning drums, I used to go to Musical City shop at Wall's End, and the drum teacher there was the late great Al Vincer, who in the 50s went to America and ran third in the World Championship drumming titles, with the winner being Gene Krupa first, Buddy Rich second, and from Newcastle, New South Wales, the great Al Vincer ran third. And he was a good teacher, but I learnt more going watching him play. I'd go to New Lambton RSL, they say, before I become a guest artist, and when I was only a drummer, and I'd watch Al play, and I learnt more from watching him. So, yeah, from observing, people, you can learn a lot. That's what I always tell people. If you want to be a good rugby league halfback, just watch videos, as many DVDs and videos you can of Andrew Johns and little Alan Langer. You just got to observe the champions and try and get something from them. But also, always remain down to earth. That's the main thing. I found audiences can really sense it if you're thinking you're above them and talking down to them. I think that's one of the great things, is trying to always remain down to earth. The audience will love you. Recording companies will love you. The media will love you. If you be a big-headed, and I know many of people that have been talented, and I've seen them having their recording contracts ripped up by going into a meeting with a recording studio and telling them what they want to do and argue and tell them what they got to do, and instead of being more cooperative and down to earth. So I think it's not easy out there, but there's a lot of enjoyment that you can give people, and even if you've got to do shows when you're starting out, to go around to, I know many of them in my younger days, to nursing homes, anywhere where you can get that experience. And but the main thing is just always never give it up. But just if your heart's in it to do it, you'll get knockbacks along the way in everything you do in life. But just use those knockers sometimes as a leverage to make you better. And so I'll show them. And so I think that's one of the good things that I always had along the way. And I think that I've never let disappointments or rejections at times, make me throw the towel in. It's made me stronger, I think, along the way when I was younger. Because it wasn't hard. There wasn't many people there at the top of that ladder helping you up the ladder. They're mainly up the top with a barge pole, knocking people down, a lot of them. But what I've always found, and it's just in my nature, that I'm always there, I'd rather help them up the ladder. And, you know, I've found, you know, that there's not many people that are willing to do that. But, you know, if anyone wants to do that, oh yes, and when you make it, that's what I always say to young artists, if you do make it successful, you know, successfully, don't forget those people who helped you in them early days, because, you know, the bubble will burst, and then you might need their help on the way back down, those people. So always, I never forget those people that helped me in those early days, and I keep in touch with them, and I still thank them today, you know, anyone that's helped me along the way, and they're never forgotten. And I think that's the thing that we should always do, you know, never forget those who give you the helping hand.
Phil, I believe that you also enjoy helping other people in the music industry.
Yes, it's something that I've always just naturally enjoyed doing over the years. I've been able to help other people as well, and because I found when I was just starting out, Jack, I found that it was a very hard thing to get into, to get started. Other people who were already there, they would seem like they're up to that top of that ladder with a barge pole, knocking anyone down that looked like they were going to do something, you know, or not much help out there at all, really. I found, so I thought, well, you know, it's not hard to help others at times, and you know, I've really enjoyed that. And just looking back over my career, some of the real significant things that I've done and helped, and always, you know, look back very proudly with it, is a young singer who I first seen at age 12 years of age, Mike V. I was his very first mentor, and you know, he was a young rugby league player when I was coaching rugby league for my club, West Rosellas. I used to run a talent quest. I was playing drums at the time. I'd run a talent quest for all the young kids there on the Sunday at the old Bolton Point Community Hall. We had our presentation day, and then we'd have a talent quest. And I first seen young Mike V get up at age 12, got up and sung Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and sounded like a young John Farnham. And then in later years, I managed Mike when he started his career, and got him going as a young compere, and then he's gone on to great heights, travelled all over Australia and all over the world just about with his Whispering Jack show, and it's been great, you know, to see someone that you have helped to do good. And also in Newcastle, I came across a young band called the Beetroots. They were all about 15 and 16 years of age, some still at school, some had just left school. None of the agents around Newcastle would give them a go because they thought they were too young, they were, you know, inexperienced. But I heard them do their Beatles little show at a school, and I thought they were brilliant. And the bass player, Andrew Hill, I got to know Andrew, and at the time I was working in the Newcastle Star newspapers and advertising rep, and my job was to look after all the pubs and clubs and restaurants. So with all the contacts that I had, I thought, well, these boys, you know, the agents won't give them a go. Well, as I'm going around seeing my different clients, I'd tell them about this young Beatles band, how good they were, and I got them quite a bit of work. And since them days, I lost contact with Andrew for a number of years, till only about 4 years ago when I started on Facebook. And Andrew contacted me all the way from Las Vegas.
Wow. And
I was so happy, and so surprised that he was actually performing in Las Vegas. He'd gone from like a young band in Newcastle, the Beetroots band, to all other Beatles bands around Australia. I think he was in, you know, most of the Beatles bands at one time or another, but then he ended up making his way to Las Vegas several years ago, and he's in a band called Forever Fab. And so Andrew contacted me, and he said, always remember, Phil, you were my first mentor, and I always appreciate all that help you give me in them early days. And he said, I've been in Las Vegas for several years, and a couple of years ago, Jack, he went to Waikiki to the Princess Kalani Sheraton Resort Hotel there in Waikiki Beach, and because in 1964 the Beatles landed in Hawaii, so in 2014, yeah, that would have been 50 years, that's right. I think it was celebrating 50 years since the Beatles had been to Hawaii, not long after they were in Australia around that time. So the owner of the Princess Kalani at Waikiki Beach seen the boys in Las Vegas and asked them would they come there on a contract. So they've been there for a few years now, playing at this beautiful big state-of-the-art showroom. It holds 500 people, all the state-of-the-art sound and lighting, and doing really well. And then, it would only be a few months later, I got a phone call from another singer who I managed. I was his very first mentor. He was a black American singer who arrived here unknown. He married a Newcastle girl. His name's Ron Knight. And in 1982 I met Ron, and he asked me would I manage him and get him some work, and which I did. And then in 1997 he landed in Las Vegas, and I didn't know where he was. Thanks to Facebook, he contacted me. He seen my name there, and he said, he always called me Mahoney. He said, Mahoney. He said, I've been looking everywhere for you. He said, that's Ron here in Las Vegas. Well, I was that happy, you know, for him, because he's a great guy and a terrific performer. And Ron has several shows in Las Vegas. He has Ron Knight solo show, Ron Knight in the Days, and he also has the tribute to Charlie Pride show that he does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he does that, and he comes out here for a few months every year to see his two children from his first marriage, and I catch up with him now, and it's great to see him. And another person probably that comes to mind that I helped in a small way, that I was a marketing manager at Stockland Mall Shopping Centre at Jesmond in 1986. The manager of radio station 2HD came there to sell me some advertising, because we had a pretty good budget there, and I'd get visits them days from all these radio stations, TV stations, that trying to get you to advertise with them. Anyway, David Baldwin, the manager of Radio 2HD, had a cup of coffee there, and I knew David from being in bands. He was a drummer like me, and met him over the years. And he just said in passing, Phil, he said, do you know anyone who could fill in for Sunday nights, take over Sunday nights country sounds? He said, Jeff Gregory's been there for 14 years and he's leaving and taken up another position in a different field, and we just haven't got anyone that we know that could do the Sunday nights. And I said, well, I know a chap who's just arrived in Newcastle actually. He come from Perth originally, or Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, then was performing in Perth and come to Sydney, and then in early 86 I think it was, he moved to Newcastle. His name's Carter Edwards, and I said he's never been on radio, but I've seen him perform on stage several times, and he's a brilliant communicator with the audience, the way he works, so I think he would be a natural. And so David said, oh, you got his phone number? So I said to David, yeah, as a matter of fact, that he's not living far from the station at the moment in Sandgate there, and I'll give David his phone number. You give him a ring and give him the job, and that was 30 years ago this year. In 1986, yeah, he started there, and he's gone on now to Saturday nights as well. He does Saturday and Sunday, and he goes all around the Super Radio Network, which is, you know, about 50 stations throughout New South Wales and Queensland. So that's, you know, a great, you know, I feel that I may be a better talent scout than I am a talent, you know, over the years. I think I make a better talent scout than I am a performer, I think. But I enjoy that, and as I said, I don't do it for any money. I just do it, you know, if I can help anyone along the way. I'm just, my nature, I've always liked that. And another person who I give his very first job to was a young guy called Morgan Evans. I seen him in a little talent quest in a car park at Jesmond, Stockland Jesmond, where I used to manage the marketing there in 86. One day my youngest son and daughter and I were coming home from the shopping centre. We'd seen all these people gathered in this old car park opposite Jesmond, and anyway we went over there and we seen that it was a Telstra Road to Tamworth talent quest. And I said to my son and daughter, I said, okay, now I said, I used to judge a lot of these talent quests. I said, I'll sit here with my pen and paper and we'll just watch every artist and we'll see if we can pick the winner. Well, anyway, we all picked Morgan. We thought he was a standout. Kirsty Akers was pretty good too. She ran second, but I got talking to Morgan after it. Lovely young bloke, and he was a Battling uni student at the time. And I tried to steer him in the right direction towards the country, keep that country going. He had been successful in a lot of rock bands, but I thought he had a great country voice and real down to earth, nice natured kid. And so anyway, I contacted my mate Rex Dallas, who lives up near Tamworth, and I said to Rex, would he be able to give him a support show? Which he did on his, he had the Gully Grub Barn then, Rex. Oh, and Rex gave him his very first show in his Gully Grub Barn. And then I got him a paid job then out at Wallsend Diggers, his first paid job there. And since then he's gone on to the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah, he's done marvellous work. He's performed at the Grand Ole Opry. Currently in America. He does presenting for CMC, the Country Music Channel. And by gee, it really it makes you feel, you know, proud that you might have helped someone along the way that's done so good and that have been, you know, just needing that extra, you know, encouragement maybe along the way. That's maybe all I do, is to try and help people with, give them a bit of encouragement, maybe help steer them in the right direction with the media experience that I had, maybe to show them how to put their bios together and media release.
I just called to say I love you. Well, she looked at me and I could see that before too long I'd fall in love with her. She wouldn't stand with another boy. Many miles, a railroad track. Radio, keep on running your rock and roll soul. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the world's most beautiful? I guess I'll have to kiss and tell.
People that I remember, and another young local person who's done really good. He won Red Faces about 5 times when Hey Hey Saturday was going as a comedy singer, and I didn't recognise him most of the time because he had different outfits on. It was a young person called Anthony Lee. I gave him his first job when he was only 17, and then he played piano for me on the very first Happy Hoedown Show series at Shortland RSL. And then he went away for years performing and songwriting, and then a few years later after that he decided to go on to Red Faces, and I think he won about 5 times, and now he works under the name of Carlos Hop on Top of Us, a Greek god. Oh. And he comes out with this comedy show called Carlos Hop on Top of Us, doing the piano and the comedy, and so he performs, you know, all over the clubs around Newcastle still, and often chat to him. But he's done really well, as he's one that I'll give his first start to as well.
Phil, since your very first single, have you recorded again?
Oh, well, I never really had that much interest in recording. I didn't think I really had that good of a voice for recording. More of a live performer, I suppose, and being a singer and compere over the years. But my eldest son, Justin, who has been behind all my shows since we started the children's shows, he's now 32, but from the age of 4, you wouldn't believe it, but he's been our sound man. He'd be the youngest sound man and little DJ probably in the world when he started. He was only 4 years of age, but I didn't realise that he could do all the, because with our children's shows we had so many changes of about 20 different backing tapes during the show. But we were working in a package show with Miss Kim from Romper Room, NBN3 and Super Hubert, and my show, the Captain Kidd Family Fun Show, a pirate show. We were performing at Cardiff Workers Club, and anyway, Miss Kim was running around all panicking before the show, 5 minutes to go, and she said, my sound people haven't turned up, which was the mother-in-law and father-in-law. They used to do the show and put all the backing tapes on during her show. And my little son, Justin, who was only 4 then, he said, Miss Kim, I can do it for you. Anyway, she said, you sure? Yeah, he could read by 4. I mean, he could read every tape. He knew he'd seen the show so many times with us. But at 4 years of age, this little kid done the whole show for her. Never missed a cue, never missed a tape. Them days was only cassettes, back in about 88, I think. But anyway, since then, we said, oh, well, you can be our sound man all the time now. So he'd been doing that. And so he just worked it out. He said, Dad, he said, it's 40 years since you've done any recording. And he said, I'd like to produce an album for you. And I said, oh, you're sure? He said, yeah, he has a little bit of a home studio. And he said, because he's always working on our shows, he actually put together this show here, the tribute to the stars of country music. He put all that together. Even though he's not a musician, he's a brilliant producer and show arranger, and he put together the show minute to minute and produced all the video clips for it. He's a high school teacher as well. He's a multi-talented young bloke, and I wouldn't ever have done any more recording, I don't think, only he offered to produce an album for me. And so he said, pick out all your favourite songs, Dad. So we ended up recording over last year, 2015, about 40 songs of my favourite old songs from different bands that I've been in over the years, and also a tribute to my old cowboy hero, because I've been a cowboy I think most of my life. I've been started off in the stables at 9 years of age, working in the stables, harness racing stables, and I was apprentice jockey before I got too heavy, and so you know, being on horses, most of my mates had cars by the time they were 17 and 18. I was still riding horses around in my 20s around the streets. But anyway, my old cowboy hero, singing hero from the movies was Gene Autry, and so I'd done the album, called it Back in the Saddle Again, a tribute to Gene Autry and his old song Back in the Saddle Again, and with 19 other songs, and brought the album out to exactly 40 years after my first single. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed all the recording, and as I said, only thanks to my generous eldest son. He produced it and designed all the artwork, which he does for all of our shows. He's put together all of the media releases, the artwork, and I wouldn't be performing today still only for him, you know, only for his help. And I'm always very grateful for that.